Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you cut through the noise, get smart quickly on the big forces shaping things right now.
Forces that are often surprisingly connected.
Exactly. It's a complex world out there, moving fast.
Yeah.
Our mission today, give you that shortcut to being really well informed.
Spotting those surprising links,
Yeah.
connecting the dots.
Getting those aha moments, even, of course, topics that seem, totally separate.
And that's just what we're doing. We're looking deep into areas like global public health, macroeconomic policy, and also this burgeoning digital asset space.
All seeing some pretty significant recent shifts.
Absolutely. And we've pulled together a lot of material for this, reports from the World Bank, Brookings, the Fed, Bloomberg, and ETH, plus crypto news outlets like CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. We're connecting the threads for you.
So here's the question for you to keep in mind as you listen. How do these huge shifts in policy, the economy, technology, how do they all converge to create the reality we're actually living in today?
Okay, let's maybe unpack this, starting with public health. Because, wow, there's some striking stuff happening there.
Yeah, there really is. A recent Council on Foreign Relations webinar back in February 2025, it really highlighted this.
Right, painting a picture of pretty significant shifts, causing uncertainty, having real impacts.
Tangible impacts, state level, local, even internationally.
And one really concerning aspect you flagged is vaccination support.
Well, yeah. The sources call it an unfortunate consequence of some recent actions, potentially undermining vaccine confidence.
Measles is a key example here, isn't it? Eliminated back in 2000 in the U.S.
Eliminated, exactly. Thanks to widespread vaccination, you typically need, 93 to 95% of the population immune to stop outbreaks.
That herd immunity threshold. Precisely. But the concerning fact, as of early 2025, is that 31 out of 49 states, well, they're now below that 93% MMR coverage for kids entering kindergarten.
31 states. That's a significant drop.
It's a stark reversal.
And the consequences are immediate, sadly. We saw that tragic news, the first U.S. measles death in a decade.
An unvaccinated child in West Texas, yes.
Yeah.
February 2025.
But officials reported, over 100 cases in Texas, more in New Mexico, 80% involving children.
And nationally, over 130 cases in just the first 2 months of 2025.
Which is more than in 8 of the last 15 years, right?
That's right. It's a sharp increase. And alongside this, the federal response has been described as relatively quiet.
Quiet? How so?
Well, key vaccine advisory committees like the National Vaccine Advisory Committee, the Advisory Commission on Childhood Vaccination, they've been postponed.
Okay.
And there's also been an executive order restricting federal funding for COVID-19 vaccine mandates.
So a pullback on multiple fronts.
And that's compounded by workforce reductions.
Yeah.
Pretty significant ones.
At places like the NIH and CDC.
Exactly. The NIH, the National Institutes of Health, dismissed an estimated 1,200 employees. Many of them, promising young investigators. Specialized knowledge that's hard to replace.
Wow, 1,200. And the CDC?
The CDC saw reductions affecting over 1,000 people. About 400 voluntary, 750 fired.
And that impacts specific programs?
Oh, definitely. Key programs like the Laboratory Leadership Service, the Public Health Associate Program, these are vital links between the CDC and what happens on the ground in states. They've seen significant decreases.
So it's not just about lost jobs?
No, not at all. The real insight here, according to the experts in that webinar, is this potential brain drain. It could cripple our ability to respond to future health crises. It's like eviscerating the next generation of public health experts.
And that has knock-on effects.
A chilling effect on academia was the term used, because NIH funding cuts impact the whole scientific pipeline.
And these domestic issues, they don't happen in a vacuum, do they? They connect internationally.
Absolutely. We're seeing echoes on the international stage. The U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization, the WHO.
That withdrawal notice was renewed, suggesting it takes effect quickly.
That's the suggestion, yes. Immediate effect. And the ramifications are already being felt.
Like how?
Well, U.S. officials have stopped participating in many of those global networks for tracking emerging infections, influenza, that kind of thing.
And USAE, I know they're a big player.
Huge. They've reportedly had thousands of contracts terminated. Their workforce is expected to shrink drastically from around 10,000 down to maybe 1,000.
10,000 to 1,000. That's massive.
It is. And USA, too, they're effectively our eyes and ears overseas for new infections.
Yep.
They run critical HIV and malaria programs.
So losing that capacity.
It creates huge blind spots globally. It gives us this illusion of safety that it's just not real.
And are other countries reacting to this?
Well, what's fascinating is that some other governments, Argentina, Hungary, Russia, were mentioned, are reportedly considering following the U.S. lead on WHO withdrawal.
Nice.
Yeah. And the UK is also cutting foreign aid to boost military spending. Meanwhile, China is selectively filling some of those voids, often focusing on infrastructure, maybe less on broad global health security.
So the overall picture is fragmentation.
Fragmentation, exactly. At a time when we probably need more connection, not less.
That is a sobering picture. But you mentioned it's not all grim. There's resilience, state and local levels adapting.
Yeah, there are definitely examples of that.
Yeah.
Frontline health departments finding ways.
Like Connecticut, you mentioned their Department of Public Health.
Right. They've been facing, quote, uncertainty and unrest among their staff. Potential federal funding cuts could hit half their department.
That's stressful. Have the cuts actually happened?
Specific grant terminations haven't occurred at this moment, according to their representative, and there are positives.
Okay.
The Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, the MMWR, which tracks health data, is resumed reporting for things like H5N1 avian flu, that's the bird flu, and severe flu in kids.
So some core functions continue?
They do. But it also highlights how much states still lean on federal partners for, quote, expertise in areas we only interact with on an off basis.
Right. Specialized knowledge.
Exactly. And there's real concern about things like the cancellation of the VRBP PAIC meeting. That's the committee that helps decide on flu vaccine strains.
And that impacts vaccine manufacturing timelines.
Precisely. It really underscores that health and business, they absolutely go hand in hand.
But you also had an encouraging stat from Connecticut.
Yes. On MMR vaccine uptake for kindergartners. In 2024, it was almost 98%.
98%.
Which is actually higher than before the pandemic and way up from the pandemic low.
That shows real local strength.
It does. It reminds you of those often unseen protections. Public health provides safe drinking water, food safety. They mentioned state secret shoppers, checking for things like listeria outbreaks.
Right, the stuff we take for granted until it goes wrong.
Exactly. So the key takeaway for you, the listener, is really lean on your state and local health departments for good information. Advocate for public health locally. Support those frontline workers. They're crucial.
That's a great point. Okay, so these profound shifts in public health, they obviously don't exist in isolation. They intersect with the wider economy. Let's connect those threads now. What's the big economic picture?
Well, significant uncertainty is probably the main theme right now, globally.
Uncertainty manifesting how?
We're seeing gold prices, for instance. They hit record highs, but now they're consolidating below that peak. Around $3,509 an ounce was the figure mentioned.
Driven by what?
A mix of things, according to sources like FX Street, Daily FX, Decrypt. U.S. tariff uncertainty is one factor, Federal Reserve concerns, ongoing geopolitical tensions. It's all swirling together.
And speaking of tariffs, there was that court ruling.
Ah, yes. A federal court ruled back in August that most Trump's tariffs are illegal. That's per CFR and CNBC.
Which you'd think would reduce uncertainty, but maybe not.
Paradoxically, yeah. It might actually increase uncertainty for businesses in the short term. They're kind of in limbo, figuring out what's next.
And trade tensions remain a theme. There was that comment attributed to former President Trump about the India-U.S. trade relationship.
Yes, calling it a totally one-sided disaster, according to CNBC reporting in September.
Meanwhile, markets seem okay with Fed independence questions.
Shrugging off attack on Fed independence was the phrase FX Street used. It's complex.
So let's look at the Fed itself, their last move, July 30th.
Correct. The FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, they decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate, kept it at 4.14 to 4.12%.
Sticking to their goals of maximum employment, 2% inflation.
Right, reaffirming that commitment. But interestingly, there was dissent.
Oh, who dissented?
Two members, Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller. They actually preferred a quarter-point cut in rates.
So not unanimous.
No. And the Fed's own statement highlighted that, quote, uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated.
So the insight is the Fed's navigating tricky waters, internal divisions even.
Exactly. It reflects the complex signals they're seeing, which leads to that advice from FX Street. Don't overprice a September rate cut. It might not be a sure thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So given this, somewhat uncertain traditional economic picture, how is all this playing out in the digital asset world? Blockchain, crypto, it's evolving so fast.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we're seeing mixed signals there, too. Bitcoin, for example, is still a major player, hovering around $111,000.
$111,000, according to CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, Decrypt. Early September figures.
That's right. But even with those recent rallies, FX Street notes declining volume, some bearish sentiment still lurking, so volatility is definitely still part of the story.
And other coins?
Well, XRP is consolidating, showing signs of maybe a potential breakout. Solana's got its Alpenglow upgrade, which some think could push SOL towards $250.
So lots of innovation, but still market challenges.
Absolutely. Ambitious projects, real market hurdles.
And one area getting a lot of buzz is tokenized stocks. Explain that a bit.
Sure. It's basically taking traditional company shares
Yeah.
and representing them on a blockchain, making them potentially easier to trade, fractionally own, that kind of thing.
And companies are doing this.
Yeah, Kraken and Back were mentioned, bringing tokenized equities onto the Ethereum mainnet.
Yeah.
But there's regulatory attention, too.
The EU Markets Watchdog, ESMA.
Right. They issued a warning about investor misunderstanding. They're stressing the need for safeguards.
So that classic tension, innovation versus regulation.
Exactly. It's a major theme. And you see related moves like Jucoin launching a huge $500 million joint venture for what they call an RWA exchange, real-world assets on the blockchain.
Bringing tangible things, physical assets onto the chain.
That's the idea.
Fascinating. And is crypto itself making inroads into mainstream finance?
It really seems to be. You've got major exchanges like Coinbase and OKX pushing into Australia's retirement system, their superannuation.
Into pensions, basically.
Yeah. And the U.S. is also apparently revamping rules about how crypto fits into retirement plans here.
And the Bitcoin versus gold debate. Still going.
Oh, yeah. Is Bitcoin a hedge like gold? That conversation continues. Some analysts cited by CoinDesk suggested gold's recent rally might actually help Bitcoin's case.
So digital assets aren't just niche anymore.
No, they're actively competing for a place within traditional finance. It's a shift.
And politically, it's getting attention too. We saw some headlines.
Definitely. The reporting highlights how figures like former President Trump are involved, with projects exploring token burning.
And that reported $6.4 billion collaboration between Trump Media and Crypto.com.
That was reported by CoinDesk, yes, building a CRO treasury firm.
And even Governor Newsom making jokes about launching a, quote, Trump corruption coin.
According to Decrypt, yes. It just shows this increasing crossover, traditional power, decentralized finance, sometimes humorously, sometimes seriously. It's often politicized.
Right. And on the investment side, big money is still flowing in, but also big risks.
Absolutely. Look at Michael Saylor's strategy. They just bought another $450 million worth of Bitcoin. Their total holdings are now valued at something like $70 billion.
$70 billion. That's incredible conviction.
It is. But then you see other stories. CleanCore made a $175 million deal for a Dogecoin treasury, and their shares reportedly tumbled 60%.
Ouch. So massive potential upside, but also swift corrections.
Exactly. And even established infrastructure faces bumps. Ethereum's biggest testnet, Holsky, is shutting down. Starknet had its second mainnet outage recently.
So it's a market still maturing.
Very much so. Ambitious projects, volatility, technical challenges, it's all part of this digital frontier right now.
So with all this complexity and data flying around, how are people making sense of it? What about new tech analytics?
That's a huge growth area. Advanced analytics platforms are becoming crucial.
Like Sentiment, CryptoQuant, Glassnode.
Precisely. They provide what they call actionable insights. They crunch all sorts of data, on-chain activity, off-chain market data, social media sentiment, developer activity.
Glassnode was kind of a pioneer there, right, with on-chain analysis?
Yeah, using proprietary algorithms, clustering techniques to understand wallet activity and flows, really trying to see beneath the surface of price movements.
And AI is playing a role.
Increasingly. Cointelegraph reported on using AI for predicting altcoin pumps. And you see companies like Kite AI raising funds to bridge stablecoins with autonomous agents. Think AI programs making transactions.
Wow. And even governments are exploring this.
Yeah, quite notably, the U.S. government is initiating a project described as a proof of concept to push economic data onto blockchains.
Why would they do that?
Well, it aligns with this idea mentioned by FX Street that on-chain finance builds a new era of truth, transparency, and opportunity. Putting official data on a verifiable ledger could be a step towards that.
So a clear trend towards more data-driven, maybe more transparent financial systems using this new tech.
That seems to be the direction, yes.
Yeah.
More automation, more transparency potential.
Well, this has certainly been a deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, these powerful intertwined stories.
Evolving public health challenges, a traditional economy grappling with inflation, policy shifts.
And this explosive but still unpredictable growth in digital finance.
And the key thing is, none of these exist in a bubble, do they?
Not at all. Their interactions, how they influence each other, that's really going to define the next few years.
So it's really vital for you, the listener, to think about the longer-term implications of what's happening right now. These immediate shifts have ripples,
Whether that means, getting involved in local public health advocacy.
or just understanding the new financial tools and risks emerging in the digital space. Informed engagement is it's more critical than ever.
Absolutely. So let's leave you with a final thought to chew on, something provocative, perhaps.
For it.
How will this current unraveling we discussed in global public health infrastructure, how might that interact with this rapidly evolving decentralized world of digital finance?
That's interesting.
What unforeseen systemic risks or maybe even opportunities might pop up right there at that intersection? Something to think about.